Hello and welcome to the Field Engineer. Today I am joined by Joe Deater, who is a US biomedical engineer. Welcome, Joe. We're going to be talking a little bit about biomedical engineering, a little bit about Joe and his career path. So welcome, Joe. I'm going to launch straight into it. Can you give us a bit of an idea of who you are and take us through a brief overview of your career history?
Well, hello, everybody. Yes, my name is Joe Deater. My background, I kind of diverged at the beginning, and I was in the United States Air Force for my first 4 years. At that point in time, I attempted to get into the Biomed program in the Air Force, did not get any of the slots, and ended up working on F-16 avionics electronic systems for my 4 years. When I got out, I then moved back home to Michigan and began college credits at university. And lo and behold, I stumbled onto the school I was in actually had a biomed program. So I switched my major from general to biomedical technologies. And as always is the case in most colleges in the United States, I was the only one in the program, and a lot of my professors didn't even know what I was going into. So I was the odd duck as usual. Got some very questioning looks and talks with my anatomy physiology fellow students, wondering why I was in there and what I was doing. So that took some explaining. When you're sitting there with a bunch of physical therapists and occupational therapists and other things. So yeah, that was interesting. Then from there, while I was in school, I was essentially recruited by a hospital not too far away from the school, and I accepted a part-time position at that as I finished my schooling. Once I did that, it became full-time, and after that, I moved to where I'm currently a biomedical technologist at Munson Healthcare in Traverse City, Michigan. Been doing this for 27 plus years now up here. And then I also, in 2018, was approached and accepted the educator's position at the college here. We, in conjunction with Munson, began a biomed program at the college, and I've been educating there since.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So I find it interesting that whilst you were in the Air Force, you went for that biomedical course, but okay, you didn't get the slot, but then you came back to it. So what was the attraction for you for that, way into biomedical engineering?
Well, I knew about biomed through my brother, who was in the Air Force also prior to me. He was the one that directed me into trying to get one of those slots positions. So I had looked into it while I was in high school of what the position was. And I can remember even as a young child, I my dream job that I thought I wanted to do when I was 7, 8 years old was be a pediatrician.
Okay.
My mom was a nurse for all my life, and so I was familiar with the hospital setting, and I also knew the stability of the hospital setting. So it just seemed like a good fit for what I liked to do.
Hmm. So a
So
strong family influence there with your brother and your mum.
yep, absolutely. Yeah, if it
Mhm.
wasn't for my brother, I would never, as usual, never have even heard of biomedical at all. That would have been okay, what am I going to do? But yeah, once he told me about it and I looked into it, it really intrigued me, and it sounded like something I wanted to possibly do. So
Yeah. Yeah. And given you've stuck with it for 30 years, clearly a good choice, right?
yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So let me move on. In that time that you've been a biomedical engineer and latterly gone into the education part, do you see any major changes in terms of what you do, what a biomed does, changes in industry? What have you seen change over that time?
Definitely, we've seen. I was on the tail end of solid state electronics. So at that point in time, we were out of fuses, but we were definitely still able to do component level repairs on boards and fix things. And where we're at in northern Michigan, we are a rural area. So for us to send something in or have technicians come up, it is costly and timely. So our department here uh, does a lot of hands-on here.
Right.
We don't send a lot of things out, and we're got to be more self-sufficient just for the efficiency factor of it. Not to mention cost in most times. So going from solid state into board only surface mount type electronics, we can't work on those without having a flash solderer and everything else. It's impossible when you're dealing with transistors and resistors all built into one chip and everything. Troubleshooting it is going to be so timely, and trying to figure out what chip, then find the chip, and manufacturers aren't going to sell you that chip
Yeah.
by any means. So that alone has been truly a change over the years. And now we're seeing so much more of the IT integration component coming into everything. Everything we work on as biomeds has some kind of connection that we've got to work with IT, to the point as of this past February, our department for 30, probably 40 years since its inception here was under facilities.
Right.
And in February, we transitioned over under IT.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
and that's becoming the trend in the States, especially. I'm not sure about overseas, but it's definitely becoming the trend over here. I would say with my interaction with AAMI, we did a survey, and probably about 50% of the biomed departments across the country are under IT now.
Hmm.
So somewhere in those numbers.
Yeah. With that in mind, presumably, in terms of your skill set, obviously you're coming from this more electrical electronic domain from the Air Force, and moving through. Do you think that every biomedical engineer needs to know and understand about networking, how to connect something up, how to deal with IP addresses, and all
Yes,
that, and even maybe to the extent of understanding HL7, which is, for our audience who don't know HL7, it's a hospital, I think it stands for hospital language 7. It's a
yeah,
way for different devices to communicate, and a kind of a standard. So do you think the skills required for a biomedical engineer have shifted significantly then?
absolutely. The obviously, and I'm going to go with what we're teaching in the program at the college. We have obviously we still need the basics of electrical theory, electronics theory, just to know how things are functioning. But we've moved far away from that solid state issue now, and I have integrated in networking, and we need to talk about cybersecurity also.
Sure.
At least having base knowledges, because we really are the interpreters between nursing and IT and other areas. So we've got to have a knowledge in those areas on how to talk to both sides of that coin and
Yeah.
interact with it. So it's being multilingual, really.
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking nursing to IT, the two are just two different languages.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
and we've got to be able to interpret those things. So I found it's very important that we have at least a base knowledge of networking, as you said, and the HL7s and IPs and how to set those up and how to work with them.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting you raised that point of the two different areas of IT and nursing being different languages. I often talk in terms of speaking the language of even a specialty. I've done a lot of
Hmm.
work in cardiology, so I can speak with cardiologists on
Hmm.
what their issues are.
Right.
And equally, you have to learn a different language if you want to talk to surgeons and understand what their issues are. So I think
Right.
it's really interesting, learning those, languages and being able to translate, what the problems are that the
Hmm.
clinicians are facing, mapping that through to, okay, do we have a network issue here? Do we have a user issue here? Do we have
Right.
a technology or an electronics issue?
Right. And as you know, working in cardiology, the sensitivity of it too. You even though you may know fully well that it's a user error, it's a dance you have to do with those egos.
Yeah, sure, sure. And maybe it's a training issue rather than maybe no one's ever told the users what
Yes.
to do. And we all know physicians, clinicians of all sorts, they're busy people. Are they really going to sit down and read a manual? No, of course not.
No.
So, and I think that equally is one of the challenges for biomeds, coming along. Okay, what do we need to fix here? Do we need to fix some training issue? Do we need to fix
Hmm.
a device, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So given those changes that you've seen over your career, I'm curious what looking into the future, what do you think the challenges are for our future biomeds? What are the changes that they might see given the current climate and what might change in the future?
Well, hot topic in the States for the last 5 years has definitely been the potential for a hybrid biomed slash IT person. I really got exposed to that last fall when I went to a uh, school for EEG, and there was 10 of us in the class. Two of us were full biomeds. Three of the guys were there because they were working for the manufacturer and getting trained.
Mhm.
And five of them were clinical application specialists working in biomed.
Right.
So that transition is going to become even more so as we integrate more and more, and as AI comes more into everything that we touch. It's going to be IT is going to be integrating it into electronic medical records, applications for deciding, the most cost effective way of doing things, and it's just going to happen. We really are going to have to be those hybrid. We're still going to have the basic models of things, whether it's in OR or X-ray or whatever, that we have to have the technical knowledge on repairing. But when we repair, we're going to have to be able to have those devices talk to the internet and the intranet and the IT, and working with them hand in hand. So
Mhm.
I really feel that our incoming students have to have some knowledge to understand that. And the problem I see with that is we're a long ways away from having any of the colleges or universities have a truly healthcare IT program,
Mhm.
because our language with healthcare systems whether it's IV pumps or patient monitoring or PAC systems in radiology, they themselves speak a different language from what the normal IT is. So when I send my students to have a networking class, they're learning basic networking skills that may or may not sound the same when they're working on them in the healthcare world. So yeah, again, interpretation. So it's difficult. There's a learning curve.
Sure. Okay, coming back to you personally now. Yeah, we've mentioned your brother and your mum. I'm curious to know, did you have any other big influences in your career? Maybe some colleagues, maybe a mentor. Who has influenced you through your career?
My first job when I was in college, Ray Sellers, longtime Biomed, he offered me that first chance, that first opportunity. And for us, it was Ray and I were the Biomed department. So I got exposed to everything in that hospital that, had equipment on it. And about 6 months after I started working, Ray decided it was finally time, since he was the only biomed for quite a while, he decided it was time for a vacation. So he left me in charge for 2 weeks. 6 months into being a biomed. So it was trial by fire, but he was a good mentor and he did teach me well. So.
Excellent. Okay. And more recently, you've recently received the BMET of the Year award. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that is, and how does one go about achieving that award?
It's having friends that felt that I deserved it was how I got the award.
Making lots of friends is always good.
Yeah, I had nothing to do with it. It was a nomination, had to be put in for it, and then it went before a nomination committee, and they decided that I was worthy of this honor. And I say they, that's the Association for the Advancement of Medical Instrumentation, also known as AAMI here in the US. And I work on standards committees with AAMI. I'm also on another committee with AAMI. And so people knew who I was in the association. Majority what I found out from them when I went to the annual exchange in New Orleans in June, the award came because of my outreach in education. We are, as I stated, in a rural area. So our recruitment to try and get biomeds into the program comes from about a 28 county area. So if a little familiarity with Michigan, if you hold up your hand like this is Michigan. This is way down here is Detroit. We're up here at the top of the pinky.
Right.
So our recruitment area is all of this area in northern Michigan. And it's rural. There's no big cities. Traverse City is the biggest city in the region, and it's about 35,000 people.
Wow.
So unlike someplace like Detroit or Chicago or Cincinnati, or in your case, London, we don't have a whole bunch of people in one small area to go to schools and different things. So when I'm going out, I'm going all over that region, talking with potential students to come into the programs, and so and that's primarily what the outreach was. And I'm finally starting to see the fruits of my labor on that, and I just got informed that entry level class at the college in electronics, there's 4 students in the class, and all 4 of them are in Biomed.
Okay, brilliant.
So,
well, congratulations to the award, and
thank you.
long may the excellent work continue. So why should these young people that you're speaking to, approaching, why should they choose biomedical engineering as an option, as a career choice?
Well, in the States, I'm not sure about overseas, but in the States, the Biomed programs, the majority of them are a 2-year program, an associate's degree. So it's a quick, essentially, compared to most university degree programs, it's a quick turnaround, and you're going to get out of school and you're going to get a job quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to incur the cost of the education.
Mm-hmm.
And to the point here, like in our county, Grand Traverse County, we pay for a student 100% for an associate's degree.
Wow.
So that degree is going to be free for students that are right here. And it's like 50% off for coming from other adjoining counties in the region. And the school has made a firm commitment to find monies to try and offset that other 50% the most they can.
Mm-hmm.
So there's financial benefits to it. There's knowing that you have, a career you're going to go into. With the numbers right now, from what the experts are saying, in the next 10 years, we're looking at a shortage of 60 to 70,000 biomeds across the board, majority of them leaving for retirement. The colleges in America are only producing about 4,000 students. So those numbers just don't add up.
No.
So something's going to have to happen to get those numbers even more enhanced. But for our new students, they're pretty much guaranteed a job as soon as they get out. One of my last students, he was working. They hired him for his first internship. I hired him for the rest of the summer. Said, okay, in the fall, go up, finish up, get your degree done, and come back. He had a week off from when he graduated, and then he started school. He was hoping to have some downtime, so he was already hired,
Wow.
before he even graduated, and that seems to be quite the trend that is happening, because there are so many hospitals and manufacturers looking for entry level, because people that are in the field already most of the time don't move around unless you're in manufacturing and you want to settle down finally and not be a regional service rep that's traveling all over. Once you settle into a hospital, a lot of times that's where you're going to stay put for quite a few years. So a lot of the hospital-based biomed centers are looking for those entry levels to build their own, basically. So once they have the degree, they're hiring. So
so there's a few really interesting points. My perception from international waters is that education in higher education in the US is hugely expensive.
It is.
And so that idea of actually not coming out with huge amounts of debt from a course and to be qualified is certainly attractive. I was slightly surprised you didn't say it's a really worthwhile type of work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Fixing machines, being part of that machine that helps get people better or treat people, or being part of that healthcare, and not necessarily being the physicians, the nurses, the clinicians, but nevertheless an important part in that cog to deliver healthcare and make people's lives healthier and better.
I didn't go there because I switch into recruitment mode, and that's what I'm telling students. When it comes time and recruiting and to be thinking about careers, I tell them, I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm still doing it. I'm an educator in it, and I'm here talking to students. That should scream volumes. And when I mention the numbers that the majority of people are leaving the career field because of retirement, that also should scream volumes. It's like, wow, this might be a good career. This might be a good place to be, and it truly is. Hospitalization, hospitals in the States at least aren't going anywhere. They're projecting in the next 25 years 30% growth in healthcare in the States. It's just crazy. It's not going anywhere. It doesn't matter what the economy's doing. It doesn't matter what's going on around the world or whatever. People need healthcare, and our societies are growing older and just going to be needing more. So our positions are cemented.
Excellent. Joe, I think that is a perfect tone and place to end our conversation. So it's been a real joy and a pleasure speaking with you. So thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Excellent. For those who are watching, please do feel free to like and subscribe. If anyone would want to get involved in the field engineer, then please do get in touch. Leave comments below, or get in touch with us through the website. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks very much.